This is Loudspeaker.
Hi, and welcome to Connecting a Better World, where we spend time meeting some of the most incredible human beings who make this world a better place. We will learn how each individual took their ideas, mission, and purpose to create and serve others in business and organizations that surround social good, social entrepreneurship, and social impact, and find out how we, together, can further connect others to help. I am your host, Dr. Natalie Phillips.
So I am here today with Taylor Dunlap, Programs Coordinator, and Brooklyn Pruter, Hearing Aid Project Administrator for Sertoma and Hearing Charities of America. So thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
This is going to be fun. This is close to my heart as an audiologist, and so I'm so glad that we're able to connect and could just learn a little bit more about what the Hearing Aid Charities is all about in the Hearing Aid Project. And to get people involved. And, first I'm going to start with just, letting my listeners get introduced to the both of you a little bit more. So, one at a time, whoever wants to go first, tell me a little more about your story and who you are, and maybe a little bit more about your background.
Sure, I can go first. My name is Brooklyn Pruter. I'm currently a doctoral student at the University of Kansas in their audiology program. So I'm hoping to be an audiologist myself. I'm in my third year, and for those who don't know, audiology programs are typically 4 years, so a little over halfway there to becoming an audiologist, and I love our field so much. In our school, KU, we partner with the Hearing Charities of America and the Hearing Aid Project, so that's kind of how I got involved. I'm just one of the student employees here, and as the Hearing Aid Project Administrator, I do a lot of different jobs. I've learned working at a nonprofit, we all kind of pitch in. It's a team effort for sure. But I have helped process donations that we get. We collect tons of hearing aid donations. We get so many every single day. So I help process those. I help inform patients on how they can apply to the program. And more recently, I've started helping with recruiting audiologists to get involved as well.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Taylor.
Yeah, so my background is actually in public health. I kind of came upon Sertoma and Hearing Charities serendipitously, but I've always been interested in nonprofit work from the public health perspective, addressing the environmental factors and other social determinants that contribute to negative health outcomes. That really motivated me to get into public health and help communities at a time as opposed to more of a clinical one-on-one setting. And I never really thought I would specifically get into hearing health, but I've learned so much since I've been here, and I really love what I do here for sure.
How long did you say, Taylor, that you've been with Hearing Charities of America?
I have worked here for 6 months,
oh, okay.
So pretty recent. Yeah, I not a super long time. Brooklyn and I actually started the same day.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So 6 months for both of you then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what have you, I'm just going to jump into this, but what's one thing that you've learned so far about hearing? Taylor, most of all, because I think Brooklyn, walking into audiology, it's a little bit different, right? You have a little bit different outlook.
Right.
Taylor, I think that with being in public health and then walking into the hearing world and the hearing journey, what's one thing that you just learned about people with hearing loss so far that just draws you into staying in this area?
So what it really is that hearing loss is no different than really any other income-based health issue. It's more incidence rate is higher in low-income individuals just because of, it's a comorbidity with a lot of other health issues, along with the environmental factors that contribute to hearing health issues, and just kind of the health disparity there that we see so often in the economic standpoint.
Awesome. And then Brooklyn, you going into audiology, what brought you into audiology?
So I did not, grow up dreaming to become an audiologist. I don't think most of us do. I started out in speech language pathology, actually, but I realized quickly that really wasn't for me. But SLP and audiology, they oftentimes go hand in hand because they both involve communication. Towards the end of my undergraduate career, I took intro to audiology class, and I just thought, I don't know, I just thought it sounded so cool to work with the tech side of things and just help people hear again. Just sounded so rewarding. So I just fell in love with it right away, and I love working with patients, helping them learn to hear and communicate again. It's great.
Yeah. And so, both avenues, right, whether it's audiology or public health, right, can lead to more of a profit type of business that you're going to be working at, right? But you guys have chosen the nonprofit route as well. So was there a role model, or why did you decide to walk into this area of being part of a nonprofit to be part of, your career or your studies?
Yeah, for me, there wasn't really a role model necessarily to get me into nonprofit, but just through my experience in school and working with patients, there were just so many who need hearing aids but just can't afford them. There is such a financial issue in this field, and when I learned that there is a nonprofit out there that really helps bridge that gap for people, I totally wanted to get involved because it's such a huge issue for so many people. And it just breaks my heart when people can't afford hearing aids when they could really benefit from them.
Yeah. What about you, Taylor?
For me, I haven't known anybody with the hearing health issue specifically, but as far as nonprofits go, I grew up with a single mom. I mean, I watched her struggle in various ways, and I just think that if we have the opportunity to be in a place where we can help others, that we should, and that health and happiness shouldn't really be a luxury only enjoyed by some. So I really like the people first mindset when working with a nonprofit. That was really important to me.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about, so Sertoma is a national organization, right? And they work with their mission is to improve the quality of life for those that are at risk or have been impacted by hearing loss. And they offer college scholarships too, which I thought was very interesting. But how does Charities of America, and how does this National Hearing Aid Project relate to Sertoma? And talk to me a little bit more about each of your roles.
So Sertoma is actually one of the oldest service club organizations in the United States. It was established in 1912, and like you said, to promote and facilitate community outreach and hearing health specifically. And Hearing Charities was incorporated in 2007, and the Hearing Aid Project launched in 2016. And that was developed, with the sole purpose of providing access to hearing aids and hearing health related services that people otherwise couldn't afford. And my role, I didn't mention earlier, is I do most of the application processing to determine if individuals are eligible to receive the assistance. And honestly, once people find our program, a lot of times they do qualify. They've done their research, they've explored their options, and when they get to us, a lot of times, I feel lucky that we are able to help them, and we do offer, actually, our financial eligibility criteria is a little bit larger than other programs. So we will meet up to 200% of the local poverty level is how we kind of determine if they're eligible for that, and which is unique in that we go by zip code as opposed to the national average of income.
Okay. All right. And what about you, Brooklyn?
Yeah, so I got into my role a little bit before, but for a long time I was the main person going through our donations. So like I said, we have a room that is just filled to the ceiling with boxes that we get from all over the country of hearing aids, and I help determine which ones are worth keeping and which ones we might be able to just recycle. And then we send them off to our lab at the University of Kansas. We have another student there who goes through the process of refurbishing the hearing aids, sending them in for repairs if they need, making sure, everything's in good working order. And then they put them in our hearing aid bank that we let audiologists take a look at, and they can pick the best fit for their patients. So I'm doing that, a lot of data entry to make sure we keep track of everything we're getting. And then I've started helping Taylor with the application process as well.
Okay, cool. So, my next question is going to be quite selfish, because as an audiologist and as a private practice owner now, I've had people where I've given them applications for different, hearing aid banks, things like that. We do get donations as well. So walk me through the process as an audiologist or as a provider. There's two different steps, right? So let's talk about the process of donating hearing aids. So I've got people that come in and donate their hearing aids back to us. Is there a form? Let's say they walk in and say, hey, I've just purchased new hearing aids and I don't know what to do with these. And so do you have an organization that will accept donations? And we usually always take it in because we work with a local organization. But talk to me about how I would get hearing aids over to you. And is there some sort of tax write-off form or some sort of way to, what's the word? Just give them kind of like a tax write-off amount, right, that is used for them. So is there something that I can do as a provider to get my patients to understand what's out there for their donations, first of all? So let's tackle that question first.
So that we do have an online donation form, and we send, I don't mean to hop around, but we do have an acknowledgement letter that we do send out for tax deduction purposes. As a 501c3, we can't value the donations ourselves. They kind of have to take that acknowledgement letter to their tax professional. But as a 501c3, it is fully tax deductible. And we also have brochures that we send to a lot of our collection centers and audiology clinics that the brochure itself actually turns into a mailing label so that they can put their hearing aids inside and just send it directly to us. And the online donation form, along with the brochure, it does ask for their emails, and that's how we get the letters to them. And we can send physical copies as well, of course, but we kind of trying to save the trees.
So then my second question is, if I have a patient who can't afford, the newest technology, right, and they do need some sort of funding option, we love to have that option as well. So what would be the steps that they would take to be able to apply?
So we don't actually keep the application itself online for applicants to find, or potential applicants, I should say. We do send it to them directly. So we have an info@Hearing Charities that they can reach out to first, and then either Brooklyn or I monitors that every day, and then we can send them our state-based resources along with the application link, because as a national organization, we don't want to step on the toes of any local charities doing the work as well. So we send all that information to them in the first few emails.
Okay, awesome. And then, the next step would be like what you were saying too, right? When KU gets all the hearing aids and you refurbish them, how does the provider then figure out what is available for my patients that I can choose? Because you had mentioned that providers get to kind of choose what they would like to fit on the patient. So how does that process work?
So once an audiologist is involved in our program and they have a patient they're ready to fit, we send them an online list of all the hearing aids we have with all the specifics, the manufacturer, the model, and all that stuff.
Okay, and that makes it a little bit easier. So, do you still get analog hearing aids as well as some of the newer digital hearing aids?
Oh yeah, we get everything. We sometimes get some of those on the body hearing aids, like really old stuff. But we also get the new stuff, and we try and just I think now we're trying to just have hearing aids that are 2 years old or newer in our hearing aid bank. So if anything's kind of older, we usually send that off to be recycled.
Okay. So are there any big projects? This is kind of a one-on-one type of thing, or a clinic or provider can reach out, right? Or the individual can reach out. But are there bigger projects that you guys do as far as, like, let's say a provider is local and wants to fit multiple people in one day. So it's more of a day thing and getting their staff involved. Is that something that you folks do and help support as kind of a project? Or do you also do more statewide or even national projects that are bigger and programs?
The program, the hearing aid project itself as a national program, we do try on our partnership agreement form with audiologists, we give them an option at the very bottom to select how many patients that they would like to see. And that can be either people that we refer to them that have applied, and then we send them to the audiologist to get fitted with the refurbished hearing aids. But audiologists can also refer their already established patients to us who are low income, and we'll help them through the application process and just send those hearing aids directly to the clinic, right to the audiologist. And we could do that 5 times a day, there's no limit. However many people that the audiologist wants to fit, we would love to do it, work with that.
Okay. And then you also mentioned that Sertoma, or would it be Hearing Charities of America, I guess, that would be able to refer to audiologists. Do audiologists have to, audiologists, or I should say hearing aid dispensers as well, correct? That they would be able to do that, or?
So hearing instrument specialists can fit as long as there's an audiologist on staff, okay, and the malpractice insurance is covered for everybody, okay, essentially.
All right. And then do audiologists or providers, when you said that you guys can refer, is there some way that we need to apply or be a provider then for Hearing Charities of America?
Yeah, it's going up next week. We're finally having a front-facing audiologist form so that they can apply right on our website. It gives the details of the documents that we ask from them, which is a CV, their audiology license and hearing aid license, a copy of their malpractice insurance, and then that signed partnership agreement form, basically just outlining that we ask them to see the patient 3 times to fit, dispense, and calibrate the hearing aids. But yes, that form for audiologists who are actively seeking to participate, which would be amazing. That's going up next week for sure.
Do you have a lot of audiologists that already know about Sertoma? I've heard of it as an audiologist as well, but actually have never been involved, and it seems so easy. So do you have a lot of audiologists? Like, if listeners are wanting to be involved in some way, what are some things that you guys need to kind of help your program move forward?
So what we need more than anything is audiologists to get involved. We do have quite a few involved, which is amazing, but Taylor and I were just talking today. Every single day we get so many phone calls of patients who are in need, and we have more patients than we have audiologists that are involved. So if any audiologists are interested in participating, we would love to help them get involved. They just need to reach out, and once we have that form up on the website, they can just go there and fill it out and get involved.
Awesome. Is this both within the U.S. and also internationally as well?
At this time, we are United States based. We hope to expand as we can, but just right now, we just work within the United States.
Okay, awesome. All right, so both of you, I know it's only been 6 months, but are there any stories or any experiences, in this process so far that may have touched your heart and the reason why you continue to give back in this way?
So me personally, I guess it's like every time that okay, let me start over. A lot of applicants, they have advocates and family members helping them through the application process. And anytime I can tell someone that their loved one has been approved for assistance, the sound in their voice just gets me every time. It's even more so than contacting the applicant and saying, hey, you've been approved, like we're going to get you fitted with these hearing aids. It's something about their family member or advocate hearing that there's help on the way, essentially. It's priceless.
And for me, I have been working a little bit more independently up till now, so I haven't had that direct contact with applicants and that sort of thing. But as an audiology student, I've definitely seen the impact that hearing aids can have. Just last week, I had a patient who was very hesitant about getting hearing aids, and when we put them on her, she just started crying because she had no idea how much sound she was missing out on. And then when she came back, she told us, wow, I didn't know water was that loud when I turned on the sink. I didn't know my car made a sound when I turned on the blinker. I didn't know I could hear my grandchildren's voices so clearly. Like, those things just really touch your heart. So hearing aids make a huge difference in people's lives, and if we can do anything to help people get them, it makes me so happy.
Yeah. So Brooklyn, being an audiology student, are you having any ideas of what type of audiology and the environment or the setting that you're going to be heading into? Like, what are some of your thoughts, especially because you're pretty deeply involved in this project, right? And so are you starting to think about, your career and what you want to actually include in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to work with adults, especially those that are lower income and might not be able to afford hearing aids. I really want to be super involved in the hearing aid project as I practice in the future. I've just seen it make a really big difference in people's lives, so I'd love to be a part of that.
Will it be private practice or hospital?
Potentially, yeah. I have my residency lined up, and it's a private practice that is interested in working with us, so I'm excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So for the people that are listening as well that think, oh my gosh, because what's really cool, I think, is that hearing is unseen. So a hearing loss, I should say, is unseen. And so nobody really knows whether you're hearing well or not until they start to communicate with you, right? And for me, as an audiologist, it's all about the connection. It's not about getting somebody to hear better or to listen better. But if you think about it, it's deeper, right? It's this connection that they want to make back to their loved ones or back to being able to communicate with somebody. But people don't know that they have this hearing loss, right? So I think that's the part of hearing loss that I love, is that we're helping people because most people don't like to say, oh, I've got a hearing loss, be assertive, right? And say, oh, I've got a hearing loss. Can you please face me? Or can we move to a quieter area? And so for people that are listening to this episode, the one thing I also did want to have you guys cover is, because a lot of the other organizations that we work with, you fill out an application, and sometimes they have to pay a little bit to get a hearing aid, right? Or I know a great friend of mine who has a nonprofit that they have to pay in giving back, which means they have to do some philanthropic hours in order to earn the hearing aids, right? So is there anything, if somebody applies to get hearing aids, is there a fee, or is there some sort of exchange that goes on when they get it through the hearing aid project?
So there's actually not. It's at zero cost. We ask for nothing in return from the hearing aid recipients. There are options. If we've had some recipients want to start a personal fundraiser for the organization in the past, or spread the word in one way or another just out of appreciation, but we don't require anything. It doesn't cost anything for the audiologist or applicant. So that, I think we're very unique in that, and
That is very unique and very amazing, because some of the organizations, like I said, that we work with, the applicant that has the hearing loss has to submit financials, and I'm sure that might be a little bit about the application process with you too, but it's calculated, right? The amount that they pay to the actual organization is calculated based on their financials, and the audiologist also gets a little fee. It's almost pro bono work, but there might be a little fee in the fitting as well from the organization. So without that coming in and out of having some different finances, that makes it really lucrative for the applicant that has a hearing loss. So that's pretty amazing, and it is very unique. I had no idea either about that.
Yeah. And we definitely acknowledge that the services and time of the audiologists are very valuable, and although we ask them to provide the service pro bono, we do have an option for them to apply for a stipend just to cover those, various fitting fees and everything, if they're interested, of course.
Now, do you, because I'm thinking, okay, but there still has to be some money involved, right? With paying their volunteers or paying people to be able to help run these programs. Do you guys have a bigger event like a gala or some sort of thing where you do get donations on a pretty big basis like that? Or is it something that's just on a regular basis? Because connected to Sertoma, people have heard of Sertoma, right? So where are you getting your funding and what are your needs surrounding that? And how can people that are listening help out with that as well?
So, yeah, it is almost I guess it is entirely donation based, and it is more of an ongoing thing throughout the year. A lot of times people will regularly donate hearing aids and then at the same time contribute a monetary donation as well. That's pretty common. And I mean, people starting personal fundraisers and regular donations is pretty much how we sustain. But like you said, the association with Sertoma is extremely helpful. I mean, that's the parent organization. So as many people who Sertoma has reached or who knows Sertoma, when they donate, they know what their money is going to, essentially,
right,
which
exactly.
is nice.
Yeah, and it's very hearing based as well, correct? Sertoma.
Yes.
So now, what is the best way, if people are listening, to donate? Would they go to Sertoma? Would they go to Hearing Charities of America? Or would they go to the Hearing Aid Project? What would be the easiest thing for you all?
So apart from just mailing checks, online, there are portals on hearingcharities.org and hearingaiddonations.org to find ways to either start a fundraiser or just donate straight to the cause.
Okay, awesome. Great to know. All right, ladies. So is there anything else that we would, that you guys would love to cover just to make sure that people really understand what this organization and what you guys are working towards? Is there anything that we missed?
I mean, I would just say, it's kind of cliche, but you never really know what people are going through or overcoming in their day-to-day, what circumstances, make things a little bit more difficult that, like you said, we maybe can't see with our own eyes. So just be kind, I guess. It might seem inconsequential, but it can mean the world to someone else.
Yeah. What about you, Brooklyn?
For me, the message I want to get out there is a little bit more related to hearing help in general. Just, if I had any advice, it'd be to make an effort for your loved ones with hearing loss. Communication's a two-way street, and like you were saying, communication is our human connection. So there's just so many communication strategies that we can make an effort to do. Making sure someone can see your face. Don't yell across the house to get someone's attention. It's not that hard to put closed captions on, all of that good stuff. That might not change the world, but it might change that person's world, that person with hearing loss. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that because I think that with both of you combined, I think, Taylor, what you said, just a lot more kindness, right? Just be kind. Look up for once and look around and see how you can help, right? That's huge. That's some great advice. And I think that's also what, just Hearing Charities of America and the Hearing Aid Project do stand for, because it really is being a little more cognizant of what's going on around you, right? And just to take that step and be kind. And then, Brooklyn, I love how you brought in the fact that we can all help out and be a little more assertive and just, be a little more cooperative and say, okay, instead of, rolling our eyes that we have to repeat ourselves again, just, take that moment to say, okay, you know what? My grandma or my mom or my brother or whoever it is, my friend, my colleague is struggling to hear. And, instead of just texting it or writing it down, say, okay, how can I make this better? So, taking those two things and going into whoever's listening to this, you might not even be part of the audiology hearing world at all, but you might, come into contact or come into an opportunity where you're communicating with somebody that has a hearing loss. And, Brooklyn made some great points on just facing that person or reducing that noise or taking that step, that extra step to learn a little bit more about what you can do. I think that's so important to bring awareness in really bringing these charities and these organizations. Yes, you're helping with bringing back hearing, but it's also more than the hearing part, right? And it's really trying to get that person back to communication, back to connection. And actually it will, to me, I honestly think that it will change the world, because you bring you bring happiness to one person, and that's just going to ripple, right? It's going to have that ripple effect where, that life is going to change because they're brought back into that connection piece. Like, I think connection piece is one of the biggest things that people maybe take for granted, I should say, right? Because we just think it's all about hearing or all about listening or, making that one connection or that one acquaintance, I should say. But it's not really until you make that connection, you have that feeling that you're able to either understand or empathize with what somebody else is going through, that you're really able to then change the world. So I think that both of your pieces of advice, just combined together are wonderful. Well, thank you so much for bringing this to light for me as an audiologist, but also to my listeners. And I hope that people will get online. We're going to have all of the contact information in the show notes, and really start to participate or really start to even share what you guys are doing so that other people can learn as well. So thank you so much for your time and for being here with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you too. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to Connecting a Better World, and thank you, NOCO FM, for supporting this show. If you connected to something in this episode, we would love to hear from you. Our contact info will be listed in the show notes, as well as you can reach us on our social media channels. Please feel free to share our podcast with your friends and loved ones. For more shows, please tune in to noco.fm online.
This is Loudspeaker.